There has been a gathering inquest into what circumstances led to last Tuesday night's dastardly attack on young NSAS protesters at Lekki toll gates here in Lagos. In the aftermath of the attack, various new media reported that a number of the protesters were killed in the shooting incident, but the authorities have since denied such reports. There has been widespread global condemnation of the attack. And equally important is the looting and destruction that have come in the wake of those attacks. Well, as we seek answers, we are now being joined from State House Marina here in Lagos by Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Lagos State. Welcome to the program, Governor Sanwo-Olu. Good morning.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's good to have you join us on the morning show. I'm sure our viewers will be really excited to have you on the program. Very quickly, why did you call curfew for 4 p.m. and then later shifted to 9 p.m. and then the soldiers reportedly attacked the protesters at 7 p.m.? Did you consult with the army before the curfew was declared? And did you call in the army to assist?
Well, good morning once again, Ruben. Thank you very much for having me. And I also want to say good morning to your colleagues.
Yes, thank you.
So the question, why did I call curfew at 4 p.m.? The incident had started since Saturday, Sunday. We've continued to see a complete breakdown of law and order in several parts of the city. On Sunday, to be precise, people were coming back from church at Ikorodu, at Ebeda, and there have been mayhem. You've seen mothers, sisters, daughters being raped, being attacked. You've seen hoodlums, cultists in all of these areas, in all sorts of fracas, because prior instructions have been given to the police to stand down and to stay away from any form, of protest or any form of disturbance we have in the city. So by Monday morning, it continued, right? And I felt that we can still further engage. And what were the engagements we're talking about? We had set up a panel, which we inaugurated on Monday, right? And we believe that that panel will immediately get to work. And so that the grievances around the hashtag #EndSARS could immediately commence, and we can bring...
Seem to be having problems with the connection there. Mr. Governor, can you hear us? There seems to be a problem with the audio. Well, I think we just have to wait because he was already providing a background. You are back with us, Mr. Governor? Yes. Please.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please continue.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So by Tuesday morning, right, we have started seeing destruction, attack specifically at the police station in Orile, where we saw footage, we saw pictures of police officers being killed, being maimed in broad daylight. We saw armory of the police station being infected and we saw arms being cut away from the police station. Thereafter, we saw also another police station at Ifelodu, Nigeria, also being attacked all about the same time. Almost immediately, we also saw a local government headquarters in Nigeria, Ifelodu, a 4-story building set ablaze. We saw about 30 to 40 vehicles. People were scrambling, people were calling, right? It was turning to a complete breakdown of law and order. We saw pictures of attempts to go into the Tinkan port and the Apapa port, and they were just complete pandemonium, in the whole city. So I needed to consult, and my level of consultation was first with the Commissioner of Police and the members of my security team in the state, which is the Security Council. So it was all phone calls that I had to quickly call around, and then I decided to take the decision that I think we need to impose a curfew, in the state starting from 4 o'clock. And so the whole idea about putting the 4 o'clock there is to trigger the process of people knowing that we need to start going back home or leave our businesses. The day previous, luckily, we have asked that students should not go to school. That's the primary school children and the secondary school children. So, So that was the event that led to the announcement of the curfew. And at about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, when we're reviewing that, how are people, trying to get back home? What is the traffic situation? Specifically around the Lekki toll plaza now, we actually got footage that at some point they had announced that everybody should go home at about 2 o'clock, that yes, we have a state curfew in the state, and by 4 o'clock, the curfew is meant to start. There are recordings to that effect. So we felt that, right, by 4 o'clock, 4:15, the place will have been sort of like cleared up. But surprisingly, people now started calling themselves back and said, well, we're not leaving. Well, so at about 5:30, I got calls from several others of our opinion pool molders in the state, some parents, some religious leaders, and said we should actually even see how we can extend the starting of a curfew time. I said, yes, it makes sense, right? And so I set out notices around 5:30 that maybe the curfew should not start until 9 o'clock. So that was how we started rolling out the communication. And the event that happened at about 7:30, it was just a total shock to me and to everyone around me. I do not know how, we got into that kind of a situation, and it was just something that it was completely unbelievable. When the first call, it was actually one of my cabinet members that was with me. It was a wife that called us and said they were hearing shooting. I said, shooting where? What? He said, no, around Lekki. I said, it's not possible. And we make phone calls around. Nobody said they had sent anybody down. Because the instruction is that police will not be out until 10, 11 p.m. when we believe that almost every of our citizens would have gotten home. So I don't know how, they all got it all wrong or something, but it was just something that I couldn't even explain. Who gave orders? Who gave instructions for military to be there? It's still something that we are investigating, and we've escalated this to the highest level in the military formation, right? And it's something that our government has totally condemned. Personally, this is not what I stand for. This is not what I believe. I've been part of the youth, the protesting youth from day one. I was the very first chief executive of a state to have joined the riots, to have joined the protesters, on Monday. I was with them on Tuesday. You saw all of the process and all the things I've done to ensure that we can hear them, bring them in, and continue to engage ourselves, with the protesters. It's rather very unfortunate and completely condemnable. It's something that we do not stand for as a state, and it's something that everybody still needs to continue to condemn at this point in time.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Governor. But why is the Army denying allegations that they were involved in the shootings on the Lekki Bridge in spite of overwhelming evidence?
Well, thank you, Tunu. So, Army do not report to me. I do not have any direct reporter line with the military. I have escalated this to the Chief of Army Staff, and I'm also setting up a judicial panel of inquiry to investigate this. And even they doing their own investigation, we have to do our own investigation and be able to get to the root cause, or find out, who ordered this, where did they come from, who gave the instructions, so that we can indeed, put some closure to this, distance.
Wow. We lost the audio again there, it seems.
Yes, it appears that we did.
Yes, wow. Wow.
We'll try to reconnect.
He was just going to talk again about his engagement with
I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, okay. We're back with you. Please go ahead. We lost the audio for a moment.
Well, interesting, I hear you.
Okay.
So can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Thank you. So it's thank you. So it's something that we're not going to gloss over. It's something that we're taking very, very, very seriously. And like I said, a judicial panel of inquiry will be set up to investigate this and bring books for all Nigerians to see who or how we got to this level, we got to this stage. And I have escalated this, like I said, also to the military authorities.
Right, Mr. Governor, let's talk about deaths. People really die. How do we determine deaths and all that happened in Lekki?
Okay, so there were several footages and there were several information as into the number of people that have died and all of it. You saw my social handle and you saw the reportage that later that night at about 1:30, I went around all the hospitals that the victims, the casualties, very unfortunately, were taken to 3, 4 hospitals over the night. And I personally, with my medical team, went around to ascertain and to see things for ourselves. We went around 1 or 2 mortuaries also that night, right? And yesterday morning, I made a broadcast where I did mention that as at the time I was making that broadcast, we do not have any confirmed death from that incident at Lekki. Very unfortunate incident, at the Lekki toll plaza. And I think thereafter, at about 11 or so, I brought out a tweet where we said there was a dead body that was brought into an hospital in Lekki early part of yesterday. And from the preliminary investigation, it was not due to any gunshot, right? This was an injury that medical personnel said it was somebody hit the body, the individual by the head, and so they needed to do a further autopsy, to determine what is the actual cause of death. And so I put up that tweet. So meaning that along the Lekki corridor, we have that incident as a death case. Also in the course of our investigation yesterday, right, we also picked up a narrative that we have a dead body that was deposited at the IDH at Ikeja. Sorry, IDH Yaba, that's Infectious Disease Hospital in Yaba. And we found out that there's a gunshot wound on that body. So this was picked up by police in around Victoria Island. And once the body was dropped at the morgue, we went around all the morgues, and this was where we picked another one. So it might also be that this gunshot wound that was reported yesterday might also have been due to the incident of Lekki. We do not know. So in all, I would say that because of the gunshot that we see in this particular single incident that we picked up yesterday, based on the report of the morgue report, we had to go to all private morgues, all government morgues around Lagos to pick up these indices and how there were incidents at the morgue, so that we have a body that we might be able to pass around, and do further investigation today to confirm if indeed it was related to the killing in Lekki. Apart from these 2 incidents that I've just explained now, I do not have any other confirmed, evidence of death from that incident.
Well, Mr. Governor, incidentally, Amnesty International and some other international agencies are reporting that at least 12 persons were killed at that Lekki toll gate incident. But let me ask, how do you plan to restore authority, peace, and order, particularly as we can see that the hoodlums are still on rampage? They wreaked havoc yesterday, and today people are still nervous. And what level of assistance, support are you getting from the federal government? Because you kept saying you have escalated this matter and that matter. What level of support are you getting to restore that?
Well, I think first thing first is really for all of us. And when I say all of us, all our citizens, all our leaders in various communities, to be able to speak to our youth, to be able to speak to our children, to be able to speak to everybody that is under someone. Let us, all opinion molders, all our traditional rulers, all our religious leaders, everybody needs to speak out now for all of these protests to stop. We all need ourselves at this time more than ever before. It's not a one man called Mr. Governor, right? I think it's all of us that need to now speak up and speak out now, right? Everybody that has a follower, everybody that has people that looks up to them, we need to speak out now and stop this. We need to be able to restrain these children or this youth going out. Give it whatever name is arson, it's hoodlums, but they're coming from somewhere. And so that is the conversation that we need to take forward now and be able to pass on this message to ourselves. As your governor, I'll continue to work with security operatives to restore law and order, on the land. But I think it's beyond just law and order, because as much as possible, the whole thing started even with the police brutality that we saw. So we do not even want to keep them on the street longer than necessary. So it's really, a community-based engagement that we need to begin to talk to now. We need to begin to very quickly win ourselves back and comfort ourselves back, and restraint has to be at the highest level. This is the sermon that we need to take forward now, so that the agitation, the upset youth that we have, we can calm nerves down, and people can actually just slow down and pause and let us think through this very, very well. This is not Lagos. This is not who we are. This is not what our forefathers have bequeathed to us. This is not the narrative that the Center of Excellence, the state that all of us are indeed proud of. This is not what we stand for. Lagos, had remained the most peaceful part of this country for decades. And so we're not going to throw away what we've cherished, what we've held on to for this number of years, for this number of decades. We're not going to throw it away just because of these ugly incidents that have happened, in our community. So I want to continue to appeal to parents, to guardians, to community leaders, to our traditional leaders, to our religious leaders, everybody that has anyone, to please come out now and appeal to our citizens. I mean, former President Obasanjo had spoken, our uncle Wole Soyinka had spoken, and I think it's just time for everybody to speak up and to able to calm the nerves, so that we can get the youth and the protesters off the street completely, and some order and law can be restored permanently, into the city that we all love so much, into the state that we all cherish, so much, so that we can begin to see how we bring back our economy, working well for all of us. COVID, have just done a very big blow to us. We're just hoping that we'll not have a second wave of COVID, right? But what we're dealing with now, it's even almost bigger than COVID. So if we can come out stronger, bigger, out of COVID, this city shouldn't define us, shouldn't define what we are, who we are, and by extension, what we stand for. So it's a time for all of us, to hold ourselves, to hold our hands, and to say that we are brother's keeper, in respect of, the condemnable, properties that we've seen that have been damaged, everybody in one form or the other. I think it's time for everybody to speak up and just, get, our youth off the street, and we put restraint everywhere, so that we can pick the pieces together and we can move the state forward.
Well, I'd asked Mr. Governor about the level of cooperation that you are getting from the federal government. Okay.
Other than security cooperation, so I think the chief of defense staff also called me yesterday to find out, what is happening on ground. Chief of Army Staff also called me and to say that if I indeed require for the military to come out, they will deploy them. But there used to be an Operation OP Mensa, which they use with the police force. They said if that is not sufficient, they can bring out more security personnel, especially to forestall destruction of properties, very strong strategic federal government installations, right? And I said, yeah, why not? The airports need to be secured. The seaports need to be secured. All of the terminal buildings need to be secured. Some of the public buildings need to be secured, right? And so that's a level of support, and a few, cabinet members at the federal too had called to find out what they can do. So it's really just been conversation around security support that we've got.
Well, following on from your reference to property damage, where we were sorry to see the personal loss that you suffered, and we hope that your family is okay. Can you quantify the losses to Lagos State government? And also in the area of private property, are there any plans in place for restitution regarding business owners and individuals that have had severe losses as a result of the mayhem?
Well, thank you, Tunu. So that will be a work in progress. Nobody has been able to go around to determine, what is the level, of destruction that we've seen. Apart from the pictures and the footage that we've all seen, there's not been any compendium. There's not been any reports that we can indeed use to ascertain or verify, what level of destruction. But from even the pictures that we've seen, we can clearly say that they're huge. They will run into very high numbers, into the billions, very unfortunately. And I want to honestly use this occasion to once again appeal, to our teeming youth that this is not who we are. This should not define what we stand for. Please, people should stay off the streets. People should restrain their youth from going on the street again. There's so much pain, in our system right now. There's so much pain amongst us right now. So these are all monetary things that we can work on later in the days and the weeks ahead. But truly, really, is for us to stop bloodshed. Is for us to stop any form of carnage, any form of killing, any form of, arson that can lead to loss of life, and properties by extension. So really, for me, that is the message that I'm passing on now. Let us stop, going out. Let us stop, the destruction. Let us stop, the loss of lives that we're seeing. There's been several police officers that have lost their life. There's been several innocent citizens that know nothing, about what is going on the street, that have lost properties, that have lost their loved ones. And I think it's something that should concern everyone, every individual, all around the state. So for me, that would be my message now, right? And over the next 1 or 2 days, people will have the opportunity to go around and be able to do a proper inventory, of what losses we have on the state. I imagine it will be huge, coming out from a COVID, infected budget where, the state had to reduce the total budget for the state by over 22%, right? We're just coming out from a slow economic recovery. If not for what has happened, I was meant to be making a state of the state address. By now, we should be taking our budget for 2021 into the House of Assembly, and where we can roll out our plans, for developmental projects and be able to take our state to the next level post-COVID. But this incident is where we are now. There will be a bit setback, but I believe that we'll come back stronger and bigger, resilient as a state.
Right. Thank you for that, Mr. Governor. I've got 2 questions. As this curfew continues, number one question I'd like to ask is, what is in place for people that are locked at home that couldn't stock up on food and the likes while all of this started? Because a lot of people will start running out of supplies very soon, and they might have to get on the street. What's in place? And I also want to know what you'll do for job creation. All of this hoodlums and this mayhem is indicative of the fact that the youth need job, and there has to be massive, quick response to job creation and social well-being of people. What would you do? Just 2 questions, Mr. Governor.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. So around on lifting the curfew, it's something that we're monitoring on an hourly basis, right? Once we see that there's normalcy, all around the state, it's a pronouncement we can make as early as tomorrow, to ease the lockdown, like you rightly said, so that people can even have a means, to stock up, to buy food and all of it. So we're actually tracking and monitoring what events will look like later today. Once we see that the streets are cleared up and people, all the very, very, agitations and high nerves-wracking, issue that we see, once they go down, we might actually release or clamp down, or just slow down the curfew by tomorrow or next tomorrow at the latest, so that people can indeed get something to eat, and begin to put their businesses back in order. We want to put this behind us very, very quickly. Lagos, it's not about the state where you stop, activity for a long time. This is a state that runs 24/7, as it were, and we want that's what we know our Lagos for, and that's what we need to quickly get our Lagos back into, right? And the second question around job creation, like you see, post-COVID, we've set out a whole lot of machinery as a state directly to be able to employ and take a lot of our youth. About 2 weeks ago, we had interventions, direct, interventions from our Lagos Employment Trust Fund in the tourism sector. We set up what we call hubs, both fashion hubs, to be able to take our teeming youth, off the street. There are deliberate plans that we've set up in the 2021 budget and also in the revised 2020 budget to be able to take a lot more people, employed. At our state level, we might not have all of the wherewithal to employ so much people, but we just need to create the enabling environment for small businesses, people that are employing 4, 5, 10 people, to be able to pick up those numbers, because they are the ones that are worst hit from February, March, when the COVID incident started. So part of the things that we're doing, we're giving soft loans, we're giving grants to small businesses, we're reducing their interest on the loans that we're giving to them. We're doing a lot of internship program. We just set up on our website, on Tuesday, last week Thursday, on our website, an internship program to take about 4,000 kids, and we're putting them in placement in various organizations for the next 6 months, and the state government will be paying. So there's a plan that we have that will have taken or will have been able to attract about 20 to 30,000 direct, jobs creation for our kids, for our youth, in this month of in this month of October. But where we are now, we need to reset. We need to reset the button again and see how we're able to do all of these things going forward. But like I said, government in itself, it's not the full employer of labor. Government is an enabler for the private sector to truly, really employ and to have the opportunity to bring kids into their employment. One of the things that we're able to get the real organized private sector to do, especially during the pandemic, was to have the conversations with them that no job losses. Yes, you might have reduced retained earnings in terms of your profitability, but I spoke to almost all the CEOs of our big blue chip companies, and they gave me the assurances that they will not retrench or reduce anybody from their employment. And that has been the case. And we did very happy and grateful for that. But our concern really are with the small businesses who are the employers of 4 people who do not have the shock, the ability to be able to retain the shock of the COVID era. So they're the ones that we're opening up these grants for. We've set up a scheme where, for example, in partnership with First Bank, we set up a 5 billion, grant for small schools, small secondary schools and primary schools that are run by the private sector. People that couldn't get kids coming to pay for school fees and all of it. We set up that 5 billion grant. We set up a tourism grant for about 1 billion, just to also kick off that tourism and entertainment industry. These were some of the things that were set up in September and October, and before the end of the year, that were rolled out. But we go back, right, and we do a reset button so that we can have an opportunity for a lot of these youths, to be off the street.
Well, Governor, 2 follow-up questions from what you said previously. One, you said that restoring law and order will require the input of almost every one of us, because we are all members of the Lagos State community, which is a point that many people will understand. But many of these boys who are out there on the streets, wrecking havoc, who are on rampage, burning down buildings, they belong to communities. Is there a mechanism in place in Lagos State for engaging with stakeholders, for networks, social networks that can help influence, talk to these boys who are on the streets to get them off the streets. And then secondly, you talked about getting security support from the federal government. You talked about a call from the Chief of Defense Staff and the Chief of Army Staff. But yesterday, when the boys were on rampage, targeting iconic buildings, burning down police stations, burning down BRT terminals, we practically did not see any security group out there trying to check them. And even as at this morning, the boys are at various points, roundabouts, still extorting money from people and threatening innocent passers-by. At what point will Lagosians see that security support and be sure that they are safe?
Well, thank you very much, Ruben, again. Regarding the opinion poll leaders and the community people, so we have interactions with our CDC and our CDAs, right, which are community development associations at various, about 1,500 of them we have, right, and so we have a means of engaging with them. On Monday, actually, I had several levels of stakeholder engagement. We have influencers in our various communities, our religious leaders, our traditional leaders. On Monday, I was still at a virtual meeting with about 80 of our religious leaders, both Christians and Muslim, pondering and assessing the situation. This was on Monday of where we are. So these are the people that I'm still making my calls to. These are the set of people that have followership, that have people that listen to them. They're the ones that I'm calling out to also make out these calls and be able to pull this youth and the protesters out of the street. Now they look more around hoodlums and all of it. So it's all of us, right? Traditional rulers as well. I've reached out to so many of them yesterday, and I'm saying that in your space of influence, please go out, speak up, right? Let's bring, our best foot forward. Let's be able to get people to talk to these youths and to these kids, and let's take them off the street. So this continuous engagement that we're making all throughout the night is all calls we're working, people to reach out to as many, of these various stakeholders as possible. Up throughout last night, I was still talking to a lot of traditional, and religious leaders, just to lend their voice and to be able to speak out and speak up and pull anybody that they can reach within their own spheres, And we also have the ethnic nationals, right? We have various ethnic bodies that we know that we engage with, the various South, Southeast, various village and community, engagement. All of them are the people we're reaching out to say that, this is a time that all of us need, to come together and be able to put this, behind us. So we continue that engagement all throughout the night, even later today, just to be able to reach out to various stakeholders and be able to take the kids off the street. The governor is one person, right? The best means that I can do is this medium that you have provided for me this morning, where I can actually also reach out to a larger audience, to a larger number, for them to see that indeed we all need ourselves at this time. We all need to come together to be able to quickly heal, the pains that we're all going through, to be able to put this behind us and solve this problem together. Not one person, but it's all of us. I can take the lead from the front, but I need all of you to rally around us at this time and be able to solve it. So I'm using this medium again to reach out to all our, community leaders, CDC, CDA, our traditional leaders, our religious leaders, our various ethnic national leaders, to please talk to everybody under their own sphere of influence to bring about a lot of restraint and take the youth off the street so that we can very quickly begin to see normalcy comes back. Your second question was around what we saw yesterday morning. So events of what we saw in the morning was also what led to all the calls that I talked about earlier, where Chief of Army Staff and Chief of Defense Staff now called around midday to say that they would want to also deploy additional security to be able to restore law and order, and be able to pin down at some of these very strategic buildings that you've talked about. So we woke up yesterday with still the level of anger, with still the level of frustration, that the kids have. And before we could even get around all of the security going around the state, all of these unfortunate things, had happened. The police, part of the things that I since realized is that, yes, we have some of those formations on paper, but I also didn't realize that some of them have actually been transferred to some other parts of the country, to restore law and order in some other parts of the country who were in distress. Before we got to where we are now in Lagos. So it was a case of how do I pull back? How do you get us to pull back our men that are in other parts of the country to come back to their main post? That is a logistics thing that we're still working on, and to be able to draw, our men that have gone to do other national assignments, to draw them back, into Lagos. And that's the conversation we're still having with everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. I have 2 questions for you. I will start with the role of social media. To what extent do you feel that it galvanized the public? And also, would you say that there was an element of fake news dissemination in the destruction we witnessed in Lagos yesterday? That's my first question. And my second question is, how do we get back to the Babajide Sanwo-Olu that we elected and admired before this melee happened? You got so many plaudits for your response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Your response to this #EndSARS movement was praised as, responsive, having empathy, and all of a sudden you're being tarred in this chillingly premeditated attack. You have addressed the fact that as a state governor, you are not a part of the military chain of command. But, questions still linger. How do we return to the relationship that you used to have with Lagosians?
Thank you very much, Tundu. I'll be honest with you. I didn't, up until about 6 months, 8 months ago, I didn't appreciate the extent, of what social media, is in our community. But like I said, during COVID era, I realized that it was a very strong tool that you can use for communication. As good as social media engagement is, as good as social media is, and has changed our lives completely, right? There's so many other sore points, which you just alluded to. Fake, I would call them false, because fake, sometimes people think that government just want to, gloss over issues. Or false news, right? I think it's also one of the major downsides, one of the minuses of social media. So I want to use this opportunity to appeal once again that as free as social media has made all of us, has liberated everyone, I think there's an element of restraint that we need to have. You are in your room, right? You just got a post. You have not verified that post, and you decide to hashtag it, or you decide to forward it to 150 people who probably have not even, woken up or know what is the source of this information. And that becomes a driving force for them to take action. I think we need to just slow down a little bit and reflect over that. What have I just done? I've just taken a simple communication or an information that I got that I don't know if it is true, if it is valid, if it is false, and I just decide to populate everybody on my phone. And unfortunately, people will react to that communication and information. So these are some of the things that we've seen. It has negatively also affected how the tons of effect have been for us in the last 2-3 days. Whilst we appreciate the strength that social media can do, it makes us in government a lot more accountable. It makes us a lot more transparent, because indeed people can hold us and they can indeed, monitor us, and they can independently reflect what they think about us. They can say their mind, which gives that independence, which gives that opportunity for you to air your views and air it without fear. And to that extent, it's great, it's good. But when it's now being used, and as a means in which people take decision, where lives are now being lost, where people are now going out to destroy other people's property, I think we just need to look back and reflect again and ponder before you just press that send button. What am I doing? What am I getting involved in? I mean, do my friends, my family, do they need to know this information? Let's reflect and say, on a need-to-know basis, is it something that is what is the age bracket that you're passing this information to? These are some of the things that you, gentlemen of the press, can also help us reflect on, so that indeed, whilst you are doing this investigative journalism, right, other people who we call eyewitnesses, take up their own phone and become the journalists that have not been trained, and they just write whatever they feel, and that becomes the news. So we need to be circumspect. We need to be very, very careful, about that. And so that would be my position on that. There's been several false information that we've seen, and we just need to talk to ourselves and appeal to ourselves that people need to show a bit more restraint, at posting, information and communication that has not been verified. As to how do we come back with the Jide Sanwo-Olu that you know? This is me. This is who I am. I'm your governor that you all truly elected last year. And I want to continue to thank you for that. The unfortunate incident 2 days ago, it's not me. It doesn't define my person. It's not what I stand for. It's not what I believe in. I was the first governor that joined the protest. At Lekki, I held the flag in solidarity. Waters were thrown at me. I was pulled down, but I didn't shake. I was with them. The following day, I was with them at Alausa, which were the two prominent locations. I collected that letter from you with joy, and I did make a promise that relevant authorities at the highest level will get these letters. I went to Abuja, and they have reportage that shows that indeed I made those communications. Indeed, I made those contacts that I promised you that I was going to do. And I came back, and I said, 545, we will do everything to ensure that we tick the buckets. I was the first that set up the fund to ensure that Protestants, people that have been brutalized, are compensated. I was the first that set up the Judicial Panel of Inquiry. And we've inaugurated them. We've done everything that is within our own means to ensure that the reforms that we all desire, the reforms that we all cry for, that we have it. And so I led from the front. And I want to appeal to us again. We will come out of this stronger, bigger, and better. It's a time in which we need to hold ourselves. We need to stop the bloodshed. We need to stop the bleeding. Togetherness will come out stronger. Yes, there might have been assets that have been destroyed, but the resilience of Lagos will bring it back. Lagos is the center for all of us. Lagos is the place where you are nobody, and by hard work you can become somebody. And it will continue to remain a place where all of us that are doing genuine businesses will call home, irrespective of where we come from, irrespective of what we believe. That's what we know. That's what our heritage is. That's who we are. And that's why you've put me here, to lead and to be able to galvanize all of you. This is what I'm appealing for us at this time. And to say that let's put this behind us and let us start
Mr. Governor.
afresh.
Okay, Mr. Governor, I've got a couple of questions for you. Number one will be, I'd like you to tell me who ordered the removal of the CCTV at the toll gate, who ordered the turning on of the lights at the toll gate the night the incident happened. And secondly, I'd like to ask you, is there a point where you engage with the military to be able to apologize to the people, to start the process of reconciliation at least? We saw pictures of the military going on streets and talking to people yesterday. Is there a point that the high command of the military will do that? But who ordered the removal of the CCTV at the toll gate and turning off the lights before that incident happened? Who ordered that?
Thank you very much. And we'll just speak straight the truth, what happened. Nobody ordered. There were security of LCC on the ground, because I had called the managing director of LCC that night when I saw the picture. And what he said to me is that because of the curfew that has been announced, they took a decision and to say they will take out installations that are critical to them. That camera that you saw, it's not a security camera. That camera that you saw, it's not a motion camera. It's a laser camera for vehicles. When you are approaching the toll plaza, you will remember that there's a camera that is at the level of your car. What that camera does, it picks the tag on your car and it picks your number plate. That's where you get the boom before you approach when you're on the fast track lane, and you get the boom up so that you can pass. That is what that camera does. It's not a security camera. It's not a camera for human beings or something. It's an infrared camera that just picks the tag on the vehicles. And that's the truth. Security cameras for the Lekki Toll Plaza are still available. These are some of the footage that we're going to use for our own investigation. Security cameras are installed on top of towers, and they are there because I have seen them, and they are live. They are still recorded. Nobody can touch the security camera. That's why they are called security. The camera that they pulled off, it was a decision that the local security company, the local personnel of LCC took in conjunction with their managing director, and said that because we're not going to be here, because it's a curfew from tomorrow or from tonight, these are cameras that are low levels when you are driving approach, especially on the left and on the far right-hand side. When you're driving, those are the cameras that you see close to your car, right, that picks the infrared, the tag, infrared on your vehicles. And anybody can come, and these are things that we can transparently leave open for citizens to come and verify when the panel of inquiry starts. We'll drop this as evidence, as it were, so that experts can review and see what kind of cameras are these cameras that were shown at the footage. And I think that is the honest and the truthful position of that. I don't have anything. I mean, the managing of LCC does not even have a reportage line to me. I don't talk to him, he doesn't talk to me. The second question around the light. I understand there is also a concessionaire that manages the LED board on top. They are the ones that have the concession agreement and have the right. I saw a letter, like any other button said. The company said that they pull off the lights because of the curfew that the state government had put in place. Those were their own reported, those were their own point. I've never spoken to the owner of that business, not in the last 1 week. I've never spoken. So there's no communication that will reflect that we influence of. That was a decision that a corporate organization took, right, and said that because of the curfew, they are taking down, their LED screen from the toll plaza, and that was what they reported, and that I believe was the reason, for them turning off the LED screen. I think your second question.
Yeah, at what point will you get the military probably, to even apologize to the people?
Oh, yeah.
So that at least the reconciliation can start?
Thank you. Absolutely. So the gentleman that was holding the mic and was restraining and encouraging the kids, that's an officer that I spoke to almost all the time. He's a commodore, in the Nigerian Air Force. So that is the kind of reportage that I want to see. That's the kind of collaboration that we want to see on our street. We want to see a real engagement, a real partnership between the security formative and the citizens that they were meant to be protecting. That should indeed be a clear example that everybody needs to emulate, without being forced, without being cajoled. This is something that should form our relationship going forward, right? In terms of apology and rest of it, I think it's work in progress. I will continue to apologize. I will continue to engage, at the highest level, that they need to do that, and for us to begin to see real closure to all of this matter and be able to see real, genuine reconciliation along this matter, But I will not stop at anything to ensure that I continue to apologize to everyone, to all of us, on this line that we find ourselves.
Well, Governor, one, if the CCTV footage was not removed, is it possible to make it public so that people can see the content? And then yesterday
Absolutely.
Yesterday there was mayhem across the city of Lagos. You said you've spoken with the Chief of Defense Staff, you've spoken with the Chief of Army Staff, with all that carnage in different parts of Lagos and arson and confusion. Have you had any phone call from the President of Nigeria, or you have been in touch with President Buhari to brief him about the situation in Lagos yesterday so that he can be aware? And if so, what is he saying to you? And in the midst of all of this, despite all your efforts, do you feel frustrated? Do you feel overwhelmed that you've tried so much? You talked to the protesters, you went to Abuja, but still, Lagos has become the center of the anger of the youths.
Well, thank you very much, Ruben. I made phone calls to the president. I made calls to want to speak to the president twice yesterday. First time, he hadn't come to the office, and the second time it was at a fake meeting. So I haven't spoken to him directly, but I actually did call to want to speak with him. But like I said, it was at fake meeting, and he probably had his briefing. So he was actually the one that asked the Chief of Defense Staff to call me. And I think it was when he got my message, right? So because when the Chief of Defense Staff called me, he said to me, it was the president that asked him to call. So I haven't spoken to him directly. Maybe sometime later today that might happen. So I don't have the report to say this was what he said or anything, because we haven't spoken. So regarding the level of destruction that we've seen, so those were the levels of escalation that I had to do. Each time I get a report, or each time I see a video trending of the next facility that has been touched. So I was escalating my, well, I wouldn't call it anger, but my attempt to be able to stand and to be able to halt, the level of destruction that we're seeing. And so that was what led to all of those calls coming in, right? And I don't understand, I don't know the reportage line or the protocols of the military. How do they come out? How do they, what is their line of chain of command? I don't. And I cannot, claim that. It's something that is known to everyone. But eventually, they said to me that they will come out, and we've seen quite a number of them responding to a lot of those facilities. But of course, we can say after the effect, these buildings have already been touched, and so for us is going forward is to ensure that we still do not have a repeat of what we saw yesterday. In all terms, we should not have a repeat of what we saw yesterday. That's one. Secondly is to answer the question that if there's a need to present, those cameras for verification, yes, they are available. I'm sure the judicial panel or the public, can indeed, there are experts that know these things, can indeed come and look at this camera and see for themselves what those cameras indeed, what they do, and what they are meant for.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. Now, what is the current status with the promises that you made to the NSAS protesters before we lose sight of the real issues here?
Well, okay, so thank you, Tundu. The promises are still valid. The promise were that we set up, we inaugurated a judicial panel of inquiry headed by retired Justice Doris Okwobi on Monday, after transparently, informing our general citizens that these are the panel members. And the panel members also has other individuals of impeccable record. Ebun Adegurua, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. There's a lady, Doris, I don't know her surname now. They are both from the civil society organization. I mean, they were recommended by their various bodies. I do not know them. I know of Ebun, but I've never met him until, I was doing the swearing in for him. It also includes a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police, DIG Lakanu. It also includes a human rights activist. I think Mr. Shegun is a lawyer, Mr. Shegun Adesanya, I think. I've never met him as well. So he was also recommended, even till we speak. And there's a director in the civil, I think is Shegun Awusanya, yes. And there's a director in the office of, maybe it's civil litigation or something. There's a director, one of our arms of judicial reform in Lagos. There's a director there. And there's meant to be one youth representative, proper youth amongst the protesters. And they got back to me and said, no, one is not good enough for us, make it two. And immediately we agreed. We said, okay, we'll have 2 youth representatives in the panel, and they were meant to go through an election process or their own internal process of determining who those 2 youths will be. We're still waiting. We would want to have them. The panel have said it out that they need them to be in the sitting. So I'm using this opportunity again to appeal that the representative of the youth who are amongst the NSAS protesters, please bring up the 2 names and let this judicial panel get to work as soon as possible. The other thing that we've done is we've set up, at the first instance, a 200 million naira fund. And what we said to them is they have the absolute right to determine who gets what and what each person gets. They have the right to determine that, and all they need to just say to us is, this person needs to be paid this certain amount, and immediately the checks will be presented to them. How they run the panel is fully at the discretion of all of them. At open session, at closed sessions, the number of interviews they want to grant, the number of public engagement they want to see, it's fully at their own sitting, and we've given them all the rights without any form of hindrance. So that panel, it's still available. Let's please not forget the whole essence of this protest. It's something that everybody worldwide had commended, and the only way we can take it forward is to activate all of the requests and the requirements on that. Families that have been brutalized by SARS, we've asked them in Lagos, come forward. That have been killed, unfortunately, come forward. That have had incidents of any form of criminality, please come forward. Their telephone numbers, their emails have been publicized. Where they'll be sitting, the publication to that effect also have been made. So let all of us take full advantage of this, and let's see real, genuine reconciliation happen in our environment, happen in our system, so that indeed we can take this forward and we all can learn from it. I think that's also one of the most, we all can learn from it and know that behaviors that are not acceptable in our society are totally condemnable, and it's something that we will not stand for. Our government would not encourage it, and that's what we believe that all of us should be doing at this point in time.
Okay. Mr. Governor, with all of this happening now, what will be your take on state police? Because, you have to call the federal to be able to get police support and military support. So what would be your take on state police? If you had access to some level of, security support, you'd be able to do more. And I want to also ask you, in the spirit of investigations, when will the investigation into this Lekki incident start? And, a lot of people are thinking, you say the security cameras are still there. How can we ensure the integrity and keeping those things as very strong evidence when all of this starts, And just those 2 questions, and we'll roll from there.
Well, thank you very much. Around state police, this is a conversation that predates even my swearing in as a governor. And it's something that we have also still taken forward and will continue to agitate on. in any true federalism, right, this is one of the minimum things that we need to be able to have a closure with the federal government. I mean, it's taking too long. It's taking so much pain for all of us. The frustration is real. You know, each one of us can indeed truly really pay as much attention that we require for security as we require at the various state level, right? I mean, you see our own modest attempt with the Lagos State Security Trust Fund. Dr. Ruben, with all humility, were both at the board. Maybe some of you will know at some point in time. And we knew what that board stood for. That was a board that was doing direct intervention for the police, that was helping them in terms of procurement of vehicles, ammunition, uniform, bringing better shape to their offices and the rest of it. And so you can imagine if indeed we have the full state police, how much we can still do, how much employment we can generate, how much local knowledge, more importantly, local knowledge that we'll have. Because the whole idea about state police is not just in the fancy name, it's actually community policing. It's actually ability to be able to know who are the real troublesome people in your neighborhood. Where are the black spots in your neighborhood? Where are the areas you need to concentrate on in the event of any security challenge in your neighborhood? Because once you see it, and that's how it happens in other developed parts of the world, you can respond quicker and faster. So how would it be when somebody that doesn't know even the road to Orile or to Mushin, and there's a distress, you cannot even navigate, you know? So how would you be able to respond very quickly? So those are some of the little gains that we're saying that in federating state, we need to be able to have this power. We need to be able to have this authority to be able to have police, state police, and be able to fund them accordingly, you know, with the right number, with the right citizens to police ratio. Because I would say that in Lagos is far lower than what it should be, so that we can actually employ the right numbers and we can deal with it, right? We have a modest attempt around our neighborhood watch. Neighborhood watch, we use it for intelligence gathering. We use it for just small riots and small issues in community. And they're doing great things. There are about 10,000 of them. So you can imagine if we can have those modest attempts, what we will be doing if we have all of the rights and privilege to have a full state police. We can double the employment in the police force in Lagos State. And it will just become a critical need for us, because security, as you can see, is paramount. It's something that we cannot take to chance. That's what gives investors confidence in and around our various environments. That's what the investors want. That's what the organized private sector want. That's what the international community, that's what they want. That's what brings investment to your community. So it's something that we continue to agitate for. It's something that we will not leave, we will not stop. As your governor, I will continue to lead with my other colleagues to ensure that whatever we need to do to be able to get it, we will do it. You know, and we will not stop, you know, until when we begin to see real, genuine reforms that all of us are clamoring for in our country. The second question around, you know, the
how can you confirm for me the integrity of the security camera? Yeah. So when the investigation starts as regards the Lekki incident, how can you confirm to me that the integrity of those cameras have not been tampered with or anything?
Well, so sitting down here, I can say to you that I'm sure they're in safekeep. Like I said, LCC does not have a direct reported to me. So maybe what we should now do is to be sure that those cameras are kept under lock and key and that nobody have access, you know, to them. But I'm aware. I know that those cameras are tracker cameras. And in the event of any tampering, experts, we will get experts. I'm not even a camera expert, so I'm sure you are not. So we will get experts, you know, expert in this area that will see, you know, if they are tampered, there are things that I'm sure they will be able to see, because they would have back-end reportage, they will have, you know, off-site, you know, softwares that I'm sure will be available to be seen, you know, and when they start, you know, these are some of the ways in which government can indeed continue to show real transparency, real transparency. And I can assure you I can assure you that at the highest level, I will ensure that nothing is left undone. To ensure that
Mr. Governor,
continues to remain a transparent process.
Mr. Governor, when is the investigation going to start into the Lekki incident? When is it going to start? I just want to know that. And a lot of people watch. When is it going to start?
Okay, so today is Thursday. It's a panel that we can set up over the weekend, and probably because we're still in a curfew now, and believing and hoping that all of these things will be behind us in terms of movement in another 1 or 2 days. So we can indeed say that on Monday they should be able to start once we get the panel constituted over the weekend.
Mr. Governor, there is something I'd like you to clarify for us. There was a phrase in your speech, in your address to the state. You said whatever happened at the Lekki Tollgate Plaza was due to powers beyond our control. Now, what are those powers beyond your control that could be responsible for that incident at the Lekki Toll Plaza? I ask this because since that statewide broadcast, there have been conspiracy theories emerging. Some people are saying, look, this is beyond NSAS. Some people are alleging ethnic motives. Some people are talking about terrorism. Since Tuesday, is there some additional intelligence that has been brought to your attention that could justify the skepticism or the conspiracy theories that we have seen? Secondly, earlier on, I said we've not been seeing the police out there on the streets or the military trying to keep us safe. But whatever happened, we didn't also see the fire service. All the fire incidents were just going on unchecked, with no fire service rushing to save BRT buses or save police stations yesterday.
Well, thank you very much, Ruben. I think I'll just take the last question first. Unfortunately, we lost about 5 fire trucks yesterday. We lost 4 fire stations that were also burned. Our first responders, fire officers, were also attacked, and so they all had to run for their dear life. You saw that our first respond emergency management service, LASEMA, their building was also touched in Lekki. There are other buildings in Kappa. We had to send reinforcement there for them to be protected, and so they also couldn't come out, right? All of those high-moving vehicles, right? There were attempts to actually burn those vehicles yesterday, so they had to retreat back. So like I said, we have pictures to show that our fire trucks were damaged, they were destroyed. Every attempt they made to want to come out, the various levels of, protesters were met on the road, hoodlums, and they had to retreat. 1 or 2, I think about 3 fire stations too were touched, and there are evidences to this. And so they had to retreat for the safety of their own men. I was still on the phone with the head of the director of fire service. I think it was around about 4 or 5 o'clock last night, trying to be sure that, her men are safe. And so she said that they all had to scramble to safety. Very unfortunate. So that's why you didn't see them. They were all prepped up to go out, but each time they want to, they met protesters along the line, and so they had to retreat, and their vehicles were damaged. To your first question, I would be very careful and with what I say. There have been reportage, there have been communication, there have been audio communication that we've seen, that we've heard, that connotes or suggests that there's more to the answers that all of us thought. But like I said, I cannot begin to make extensive comments. I cannot begin to make comments that might also sound as insensitive. I think these are the work of the security operatives. I'm sure they are also in possession of some of these materials, visuals, audios that we've seen, and it just goes to some quarters that, well, we need to investigate some of these happenings deeper than what we see, out on the street. And like I said, it's a work of the intelligence officers, security operatives, who will be able to dimension and ascertain clearly, what they make out of this. There'll be several, contraptions. There'll be several, but at my level, I cannot begin to speculate. I cannot begin to guess, if they are not being properly verified and confirmed by the security operatives at the highest. But yes, indeed, we also saw some of those things, and they've been passed on, to them. Regarding my speech, so that we don't take my speech, out of context and just use a line, So this was a speech that I coined up myself, and so what I was trying to explain is that the hierarchy and the chains and command of the military are not within my purview. It's not something that I know. It's not something that I have responsibility for, right? And so I do not pretend that I have such powers to control or to activate the military. That's essentially what I was trying to explain in that particular phrase.
Well, we'll be watching the panel closely, and we do hope that deliberations are made public. I think that would be necessary considering the current climate. I wanted to ask you about a theory that's also making the rounds. Do you think that there's a possibility that there's some secessionists behind the mayhem that we saw in Lagos?
It's actually becoming something that we need to review. Honestly, it's very scary. It's very scary because I asked myself that, how did we get here? Was it all just about NSAS? I mean, how would we be destroying what we all worked for? We all want to have. How would somebody be destroying brand new public buses that are meant to ameliorate your suffering? How would people be destroying our heritage, the oldest courts on our land that we've preserved, that can become a monumental museum in future? How would people be destroying the highest traditional institution of our state? I mean, so these are some of the things that were pondering through my mind, all on to end police brutality. Will that just be the reason? I think all of us need to just reflect a lot more on that and see that, are there other agendas that we do not know? Are there people having other means, and they're using these peaceful protests to come under the shadow and perpetrate other things? I think these are very scary, thoughts that I personally was having. And I begin to wonder that why would we have this level of public destruction? These are assets that are public assets. I will live here as a governor. I've done over 500 days. But these are assets that we all cherish. These are assets that we need to transfer and hand over to ourselves. Public transportation, we've built brand new bus terminals of international standard that should be an envy for all of us. So these are very scary things. But I do not want to begin to sectionalize or speculate. Like I said, these are things that the security operatives will need to dimension. But as somebody in the political space, it's a source of concern for us. It's something that we also need to sit back and reflect and digest and truly look at our social, political, conglomeration. How are we related? Are we so far off from the reality? These are very deep thoughts that have been pounding through my mind in the last 48 hours.
Well, Mr. Governor, as we begin to wrap up, what do you see as the way forward, the road ahead? And what's your message to the people of Lagos State and Nigerians generally at this point?
Thank you very much, Dr. Abati. I think we're at the point where all of us, as a people, as a state, as a nation, need to come together now more than ever before. We're at a point in which the national anthem that indeed we all sing every day, the green, white, green flag that we all hold on every day, needs to be put to test. We need to re-engage ourselves and bring ourselves together. We need to heal the several wounds, deep wounds that we've created for ourselves. We do not have any other country. This is our country. And everybody has as much right as the other person. And so we need to understand and know that the stronger we are together, the better we'll remain as a country. In Lagos State, we, not just by word of mouth, are the most resilient, forward-looking economy in our country. We cannot put to waste what our forefathers, generations before us, have put in place. We need to preserve these things. We need to know that indeed we can build a future for the future leaders that are coming behind us. We need to end any form of anger. We need to end any form of protest. We need to end any form of bleeding, confrontation, and let's start a real healing process. Because this is what Lagos is. This is the place that we do not discriminate the color of your skin, the religion you serve, or your ethnic national. We are one. We are together. And that's what we truly should stand for. And so as your governor, it's a very tough time, but it's a time where leadership must indeed stand up and stand out. So I want to call on everyone that we should please use this opportunity, use this time to engage one another and to come together so that indeed we can take our state forward. We can heal our wounds. We can have true, real, genuine reconciliation. And we can build a Lagos that indeed will be a greater Lagos for all of us. I'm committed to that. I will not stop until I achieve that. I have a mandate, your mandate, to ensure that I create an enabling environment for all of you, for your businesses to thrive, for security of life and property. And I will not relent in that activity. I can assure you that you have all of my energy to continue to serve you humbly and to continue to do the best for the interests of all of us. It will continue to be the greatest good for the greatest number. And that's what I believe in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Governor of Lagos State, for giving us this opportunity to have this conversation with you around latest developments in Lagos State and Nigeria. Thank you.